I should have trusted my instincts when Sarah started working late every Tuesday night. But after 18 years of marriage, you don't expect the woman you share a bed with to be funding luxury hotel stays with your children's university fund. The phone call just past midnight from her best mate changed everything. What I found out next didn't just shatter our marriage. It destroyed everything I thought I knew about the mother of my children. Hello, I'm Oliver Bennett. I'm 44 years old, and for the last 20 years, I've been selling insurance policies in the small town of Harrogate, in North Yorkshire. I'm not the type to spill my feelings in writing, but what happened to me needs telling. Maybe it'll help someone else who's about to be blindsided by the person they trust most. It was just after midnight on a Wednesday when my phone buzzed. Sarah was fast asleep beside me, her soft breathing filling the room as she always did after her evening Pilates classes. The caller ID showed Emily Hart, Sarah's best friend since university. Emily never called me directly, and she certainly didn't ring at this hour unless something was seriously wrong. Oliver, Emily's voice trembled, as if she'd been crying. I'm sorry to wake you, but I couldn't wait till morning. I sat up, trying not to rouse Sarah. What's wrong? Is everything all right? There was a long pause before Emily said the words that changed everything. I can't keep lying to you. Sarah's been seeing someone else. The room fell silent except for the quiet hum of the heater. A cold, sinking feeling spread through me, like icy water coursing through my veins. Oliver, are you there? Yeah, I managed to say, I'm here. Emily continued, hurried and breathless. I'm at the Crown pub in town. I just saw her leave with Mark from her office. They've been involved for months, Oliver. I can't watch her do this to you and the kids anymore. I glanced over at Sarah, still peacefully asleep, her chest rising and falling with each breath. The same woman who'd kissed me goodnight just a few hours earlier, who'd helped our daughter with her history homework and tucked our youngest into bed. How long? I asked, my voice steadier than I expected. Since at least March, maybe longer. I'm so sorry, Oliver. I should have told you sooner, but she's my friend. I hoped it would end. But tonight, she introduced him as her boyfriend, right in front of everyone. Like you didn't exist. I hung up without a word, set the phone on the bedside table, and stared at the ceiling in the dark. Sarah murmured something in her sleep, and I realized I was looking at a stranger. Someone who'd been living a double life right under my nose while I worried about premiums and saving for university fees. The worst part? A part of me wasn't even surprised. I didn't sleep a wink that night, just lying there listening to Sarah breathe, wondering how many lies I'd swallowed in recent months. Every late meeting, every sudden shower, every excuse about work trips. It all made sense now, like pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. 6:15 the next morning. Sarah's alarm went off. She stretched, yawned, and rolled over to press a gentle kiss to my cheek, just like she'd done every morning for 18 years. Morning, love, she murmured, voice still thick with sleep. Morning, I replied, watching her face for any sign of guilt. Nothing. Just the same smile she'd worn yesterday when she told me she'd be late working on the Thompson case. She got up and headed to the bathroom. The shower started running, and that's when I made my first move. Her phone was on the bedside table, charging. She never used to bring it to the bathroom, but lately, it was glued to her hand. I picked it up, no password. She trusted me that much. Or maybe she thought I was too naive to be suspicious. The Messages app was open on the home screen. I tapped the conversation with Mark. Looking forward to tonight. Brad's poker night, so the hotel's ours. Read a message from the previous evening, Tuesday, the night of my weekly poker game. I told the lads I wouldn't be coming because I wanted to spend time with the family. Sarah had encouraged me to go, saying she'd handle the kids' bedtime. Now I knew why. I scrolled up through months of messages, hotel bookings, photos that made my stomach churn. The cruelest twist was seeing he'd bought flowers last week, for our anniversary. So clueless, it was almost tragic. I'd spent 2 hours picking out those roses, remembering how she'd said she missed receiving them. She even posted a photo of the bouquet on Instagram, heart emojis and all. Meanwhile, she was laughing about it with her lover. The shower was still running. I had a few minutes. I took screenshots, sent them to my own phone, then deleted the messages from hers. My hands were steady, calm, focused, Like I was submitting a claim, gathering evidence when Sarah came out, wrapped in a towel, hair damp and wild. She found me making coffee in the kitchen. Up early, she said, pouring herself a cup. Couldn't sleep. Big day, I said. Meeting the Hendersons about their insurance policy. She nodded, already scrolling through her phone. Probably late again tonight. The Davidson case is killing me. I looked at her. Really looked. The woman I'd built a life with, the mother of our 3 children, was lying to my face while our 9-year-old son sat eating cereal a few feet away. No problem, I said. I'll handle dinner and homework. She smiled and kissed my cheek. You're the best, Ollie. Our youngest, Jamie, looked up from his cereal. Dad, can you help with my science project tonight? Absolutely, mate. What's it about? Volcanoes, Jamie said, grinning with milk on his chin. I smiled back, thinking how fitting that was. While he studied eruptions in his textbook, I sat next to one that was about to blow our family apart. After the kids left for school and Sarah left for her busy day at the law firm, I did something I'd never done in 18 years of marriage. I followed her. I called my assistant, told her to cancel my morning appointments, then got in the car. Sarah's silver Honda was 3 cars ahead on the A59. She wasn't heading downtown to the firm, but east towards the Harrogate shopping center. Why phone buzzed with a text from her. Busy morning ahead. Court filing deadline moved up. Might miss lunch. I watched as she signaled into the car park of the Mercure Hotel. My chest tightened, but my hands stayed steady on the wheel. Mark's black BMW was already parked there. I recognized it from the office Christmas party last year. He worked in the commercial law department. Mid-30s, the sort who wore expensive cologne and talked too loudly. Sarah had only ever mentioned him professionally. Mark thinks we should restructure the Davies Trust, she'd said. Mark has ideas about the Lewis case. Now I knew what kind of ideas he really had. I watched them meet in the hotel lobby. Mark's hand resting on the small of her back. Sarah laughing at something he said, leaning in like they'd rehearsed this dance 100 times. They took the lift together, and I saw my wife transform into someone I didn't recognize. Confident, flirtatious, alive in a way she hadn't been around me for years. I sat in the car for 2 hours. She sent me 3 texts about her hectic workday and a photo of some legal paperwork. The timestamp showed it was sent 37 minutes earlier while she was with Mark. When they finally returned, Sarah looked satisfied. Hair slightly mussed despite her efforts. Lipstick reapplied but imperfect. She kissed Mark goodbye in the car park. Not on the cheek like colleagues, but on the lips, like lovers. I followed her back downtown, watching her stop at a coffee shop, buy a latte, and post a selfie with the caption, "Fuel for a busy day at IT." Went up on Instagram at 11:47, while I sat 50 yards away, knowing she'd just spent the morning in bed with another man. Her phone buzzed. Sarah liked her own post and commented underneath, "Legal life is exhausting. But someone's got to do it," followed by a laughing emoji. That night, she came home on time, kissed me hello, and asked about my day like nothing had happened. "How was your morning?" I asked, helping Jamie with his volcano project at the kitchen table. "Crazy busy," she said, loosening her blazer. "Court deadlines are killing me." I watched my son carefully measure baking soda, then looked at my wife casually lying about her morning in a hotel bed. "I bet they are," I said. 3 days later, I found the credit card statements. Sarah always handled our personal finances while I looked after the business accounts. She was more organized, or so I thought. When I searched for some homeowner's insurance papers, I found a folder labeled as Bennett Personal in her desk drawer. Inside were statements for a credit card I'd never seen before. A Capital One Venture card opened 8 months earlier in her name alone. The charges told a story I didn't want to read but couldn't stop myself from following. The Mercure Hotel, £230, February 14th, Valentine's Day, the night she said she was working late on a merger. Victoria's Secret, £160, February 12th, lingerie I'd never seen. The Dale Steakhouse, £280, March 3rd, dinner for 2 on my birthday while I stayed home with the kids. The Ivy, £270, March 28th, another dinner I wasn't invited to. The Grosvenor Hotel, £1,670, April 15th to 17th, a spa weekend with the girls while I took the kids camping. But it was the recurring charges that cut deepest. 2 Spotify premium accounts. Netflix with a premium plan when we already had the basic. Monthly payments to something called Elite Travel Club. I added it up. Over £35,000 in 8 months. Money from our savings, transferred monthly to pay off charges I knew nothing about. Money I'd worked long hours to earn. Money meant for university fees, mortgage, our future. She'd been funding her affair with our children's education fund. I photographed every page, then put everything back exactly where I found it. My hands were steady now. The shock was gone, replaced by something colder and sharper. That evening, Sarah made her famous beef Wellington for dinner. She hummed while cooking, asked Ellie about school, and listened to Jamie complain about his maths teacher. "This is delicious, Mom," Jamie said, sauce on his chin. "Thanks, darling. This Dad's favorite." She smiled at me across the table. I smiled back and took another bite of the meal she'd probably paid for with money stolen from our family to spend on her lover. After dinner, while she helped Jamie with his homework, I went to the computer and started searching for divorce solicitors. The breaking point came at Ellie's netball practice. I sat in the stands watching my 13-year-old daughter run drills when Jamie plopped down beside me. He got his provisional license 2 months ago and was supposed to be at his weekend job, at the local supermarket. "Dad, we need to talk," he said quietly. "Shouldn't you be at work?" I called in sick. "This is more important." He stared at the court, not meeting my eyes. "That I know about my stomach dropped." "What do you mean?" "I saw her last Tuesday. I was driving to school and saw her car at that hotel near the shopping center with some bloke." Jamie's jaw was tight, just like mine when I'm trying to control my temper. I waited a while. "Saw them come out together." "How long have you known?" "A couple of months. She's been acting strange. Always on her phone, always working late. She used to ask about my job and classes, but now she barely looks up when I'm home." We sat watching Ellie make layups, both processing what this meant for us. "Are you going to divorce her?" Jamie asked. The question hit me like a punch. Not because it was unexpected, but because hearing it from my son made it real. "I don't know yet. I'm still figuring it out." "Good, because Jamie doesn't need to see you get walked over." That stung. "What do you mean?" He finally looked at me. "Dad, she's treating you like dirt. We all see it." Ellie asked me why Mum doesn't laugh at your jokes anymore. Jamie asked me if you and Mum are getting divorced because she's never around. I watched my daughter drive to the basket, fierce and focused, everything I taught her to be. The thought of breaking up her world made my chest tight. "Your mum and I have some things to work through," I said carefully. "Dad," Jamie's voice was firm, "I'm not a kid anymore. I know what I saw. And I know you're not the sort of man who lets people disrespect his family." He was right. I'd raised him to stand up for himself, to protect those he loved, to have integrity even when it's hard. Now he was watching me ignore my own lessons. "What do you think I should do?" "Stop letting her lie to us." Jamie had asked me the week before why Mum smelled different when she came home from work. That's not normal, Dad. Ellie jogged over, sweaty and grinning. "Dad, Jamie, did you see the interception I made?" "I did, love. You were brilliant." She smiled, then noticed Jamie's serious expression. "Why do you look like someone died?" Jamie and I exchanged glances. Just grown-up stuff. Nothing to worry about. But as we walked to the car, I realized Ellie was already worried. She was quieter than usual, stealing glances at me and Jamie, like she could sense the storm ahead. That night, after putting Jamie to bed and helping Ellie with her essays, I found Jamie doing push-ups in his room. "You okay?" I asked. He paused mid-rep. "Are you?" "I will be. Because this family needs you strong right now." The solicitor's office smelled of leather and old books. Michelle Davies was sharp-eyed and carried the sort of presence that made you sit up straighter. Emily had recommended her after her own messy divorce 2 years ago. "Mr. Bennett," she said, gesturing to the chair opposite her mahogany desk. "Tell me why you're here." I handed her the folder I'd prepared, screenshots of messages, credit card statements, hotel receipts, photos I'd taken of Sarah and Mark at the Mercure. She reviewed everything silently, occasionally scribbling notes. After 15 minutes, she looked up. "This is comprehensive. How long have you been gathering evidence?" 2 weeks. "Good instincts. Here in Yorkshire, we have no-fault divorce laws, but adultery can still influence property division and custody." She leaned forward. What are your goals, Mr. Bennett? I want full custody of my children, and I want to stop her from taking half everything after spending our savings on her affairs. The custody question would depend on proving neglect. I told her about missed school events, late nights, Sarah's distance, Jamie seeing her at the hotel, and Jamie asking why Mum was never home. What about the finances? I explained she'd stolen over £35,000 from our savings and university funds. I had the proof. Michelle nodded. That'll be crucial. Dissipation of marital assets is taken seriously. Courts don't look kindly on spouses who waste family money on affairs. She pulled out a calculator and ran numbers. Here's the plan, she said. We file citing irreconcilable differences, include evidence of adultery and financial misconduct, request primary custody citing emotional unavailability, and seek compensation for dissipated assets. What are my chances? Very good, especially since she hasn't covered her tracks well. She closed the folder. But are you sure reconciliation is impossible? Some couples work through infidelity. I thought about Sarah laughing in that hotel lobby, mocking me in texts, looking through the kids at dinner while planning her next deception. She's not the woman I married, I said. And even if she was, I can't trust her with the children. They deserve better. Then we move forward. I'll need a £4,000 retainer to start. I wrote the check from my business account. Money Sarah couldn't touch. Signing the papers, I thought of Jamie's words. This family needs you strong right now. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I was finally strong enough. That Tuesday evening changed everything. I was at my friend Kevin's reviewing divorce papers when my phone rang. Harrogate General Hospital. Mr. Bennett, this is Dr. Patel. Your son Jamie was brought in by ambulance. He collapsed during football practice. My blood ran cold. What happened? Is he okay? He's stable, but he had severe stomach pain and vomiting. We're running tests. Can you get here now? I was in my car before the doctor finished speaking. I called Sarah 3 times on the way, no answer. Straight to voicemail. Jamie looked small lying in the hospital bed, hooked up to drips and monitors, pale and groggy from painkillers. Hey mate, I said, holding his hand. How do you feel? My stomach really hurts, Dad. Where's Mom? She's on her way, I lied, checking my phone again. Nothing. Dr. Patel pulled me aside. We think it's appendicitis. The inflammation is severe. We need to operate tonight. Tonight? The longer we wait, the higher the risk of rupture. Is your wife coming? I called Sarah again. Still voicemail. Then I remembered. Tuesdays were her late nights. The nights she usually spent at the Mercure with marked I'll sign whatever's needed. I told the doctor. Jamie's older brother arrived 20 minutes later, still in his supermarket uniform. Where's Mom? He asked immediately. Can't reach her. Probably in a meeting. Jamie's jaw tightened. Dad, Jamie needs surgery and Mum's unreachable. That's not right. He was right. Our 9-year-old was about to go under anesthetic, and his mother was somewhere with her lover, her phone off, unaware that I kept calling. Finally, I sent a text. Jamie's having emergency surgery. Get to Harrogate General now. The operation took 2 hours. Jamie and I sat in the waiting room, watching the door for Sarah to come running in, panicked and apologetic. She never showed. At 11:47. Dr. Patel found us in recovery. Surgery went perfectly. Jamie's going to be fine. Thank God, I whispered, relief washing over me. Dad, Jamie mumbled, still groggy. Is Mum here? I looked at Jamie, then at my youngest son. Not yet, mate. But I'm here. And your brother's here? Where is she? The question broke something in me. Not because I didn't know, but because I did. At 12:15, my phone buzzed. Sarah, just saw your text. Everything okay? I was at a client dinner with my phone off. On my way. Client dinner at midnight on a Tuesday. She arrived at 12:52, hair mussed, makeup smudged, smelling of wine and guilt. Oh my God. What happened? She gasped, rushing to Jamie's bedside. Mom. Jamie's face lit up despite the pain. I had to have surgery. Dad stayed with me the whole time. Sarah looked at me over Jamie's head. I saw the moment she realized what her absence meant. I'm sorry I couldn't get here sooner, she whispered, stroking his hair. Where were you? Jamie asked innocently. Working, baby. Mum was working. I watched her lie to our son while he recovered, and something inside me broke. Whatever was left of my marriage snapped. Later, in the hospital corridor, she tried to explain. Oliver, I know how this looks, but... Stop, I said quietly. Just stop. It was a legitimate dinner. The Thompson case has been, Sarah, our son almost died tonight. His appendix was ready to burst. He was scared, in pain, asking for you, and you were unreachable because you were with your boyfriend. Her face went pale. That's not. I know about Mark. The hotels. The credit cards. Everything. We stared at each other in the sterile corridor while our son slept 10 feet away. We'll talk at home. She whispered. No, I said. We won't. I filed for divorce yesterday. You'll be served papers tomorrow. The next morning, she was served at a local cafe while having coffee with Emily. Emily called me 20 minutes later. Oliver, what the hell? She just got divorce papers in front of everyone. She's falling apart. Good. Maybe now she'll see actions have consequences. She says you're trying to take the kids, that I'm trying to protect them from a mother who puts affairs before their well-being. Jamie could have died Tuesday night. She was unreachable because she was with her lover. Silence. Emily? Are you there? Yeah. Oliver. I had no idea it was this bad. It's worse. She's been stealing money from the kids' university fund to pay for hotels. She missed Jamie's surgery because she was with some bloke from her office. She's not the friend you thought she was. That afternoon, Sarah's solicitor called mine. They wanted to negotiate. What are they offering? I asked Michelle. Joint custody, 50-50 asset split, and she'll stop using the credit card. No deal. Be reasonable. Courts usually favor joint custody. I showed her the evidence. Bank statements, hospital records, the screenshots. Would a court favor a mother who embezzled from her children's education fund? Who was unreachable during a medical emergency because she was committing adultery? Michelle studied the documents again. This is compelling evidence of parental unfitness, but custody battles are expensive and draining. I don't care about the cost. My kids deserve better than a part-time mother who lies to them every day. That evening, Sarah showed up at Kevin's. We need to talk. She said when I opened the door. Talk to my lawyer. Oliver, please. I know I made mistakes, but we can fix this. I'll end things with Mark. I'll go to counseling. Whatever you want. She looked desperate, panicked, like someone who just realized the game was over. You missed our son's surgery to be with another man. I made one mistake. One mistake. I have evidence going back 8 months, hotel receipts, credit card statements, texts. You've stolen over £35,000 from our family. That's not one mistake. That's a pattern. Her composure crumbled. The kids need their mother. They need someone who puts them first. You're not that person. I can change. I can be better. You had 18 years. You chose to be worse. I stepped back toward the door. The custody hearing is next month. Be ready to explain to a judge why you weren't there when Jamie needed you. As I closed the door, I heard her crying on Kevin's porch. It didn't move me as it once would. While she cried about losing control, I thought of Jamie asking where his mother was while scared and in pain. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. 6 months later, I sat in my new office at Bennett and Associates Insurance, watching Jamie help his little brother with homework through my home office window. We'd moved to a smaller house closer to the schools, but it felt more like home than we ever had before. The divorce had been finalized 3 weeks earlier. I had primary custody. Sarah had supervised weekend visits and was ordered to repay £30,000 to the kids' university fund over 5 years. The judge wasn't impressed with her financial betrayal or absence during Jamie's emergency. Dad, someone's here. Ellie called from the front door. I looked up to see Emily standing nervously, coffee cup in hand. Hey, Emily. What's up? Can we talk privately? I closed my laptop and gestured to the chair opposite. Emily had stayed neutral during the divorce, keeping friendships with both me and Sarah despite the mess. I need to tell you something about Sarah, she said, setting down her coffee. Something I should have told you months ago. My stomach tightened. What now? She's been calling me, begging me to take her back. I know, and I support that decision. But there's more you need to know. Emily took a deep breath. The affair started long before Mark. There was someone else 2 years ago, a client from her firm. I knew and kept quiet because she swore it was over. I felt cold settle in my chest. 2 years. Maybe longer. She was secretive about her phone, always working late, always making excuses. I thought it was just stress, but looking back. Emily shook her head. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I thought I was protecting your family. 2 years while I worked overtime to pay for holidays, while coaching Jamie's football team, while helping Ellie through school drama. All while she lived a double life. Does she know you're telling me this? No. She'll probably never speak to me again. But you deserve to know, especially after what she put you and the kids through. I walked to the window and watched my boys, laughing over Jamie's awful attempt to explain fractions to his little brother. They looked happy, settled, like the chaos was finally behind us. Thanks for telling me, Emily. It doesn't change anything legally, but it helps me know I made the right choice. You did. Those kids are lucky to have you. After Emily left, I made dinner for the children, proper food, not takeout or frozen meals. Grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, mashed potatoes. The kind of meal a family eats when someone cares. Dad, Jamie said between bites, I'm glad we live here now. Why's that? Mate? Because you're always here, and you don't look sad anymore. Out of the mouths of babes. The custody hearing was scheduled for that day, but Sarah's lawyer called to cancel. She was dropping her petition for increased visitation. I found out why when Jamie showed me an Instagram post. Sarah had married Mark in a small ceremony in Brighton. The photo showed them on the beach, looking sun-kissed and happy, captioned, New chapter, new life, new dreams. Does this bother you, Dad? Jamie watched my face carefully. I looked at the photo of my ex-wife in a white dress, kissing the man she destroyed our family for. I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no regret. Just quiet relief. She was someone else's problem now. Oh, son. It doesn't bother me at all. Good, because Ellie's been worried you'd be upset. That evening, we had a family meeting. The four of us crowded on the sofa in our small living room, eating ice cream, watching Jamie teach us card tricks he'd learned at school. Kids, I have some news about your mom, I said during a lull in the magic show. They all fell silent. These conversations aren't easy, but you've all handled this with more maturity than most adults. She got married today, I continued. Ellie was first to speak. Are you okay, Dad? I'm fine, love. Better than fine. Does this mean she's not our mum anymore? She's still your mum, but now she has a new family to focus on. That means she probably won't visit as much. Good, Jamie said bluntly. Every time she visits, it just makes things uncomfortable. He wasn't wrong. Sarah's weekend visits had become awkward affairs, full of forced smiles and expensive gifts that felt more like bribes. The kids had started making excuses to avoid them. I want you all to know I'm proud of how you've handled this. I said it wasn't easy having your family change so much, but look at us now. We're happy. We're honest. We take care of each other. And we eat better, Jamie added, making everyone laugh. That's right. We definitely eat better. 2 months later, Emily called with news about Sarah's new marriage. Oliver, you won't believe this. Mark's been cheating on her already, with his secretary. Sarah found out last week. She's devastated. I thought about how to respond. A part of me wanted to feel vindicated, but mostly I just felt sad for everyone involved. That's unfortunate, I said. Finally, she wants to talk to you. Emily, stop. Sarah made her choice. Multiple choices. She chose Mark over her family. Now she's living with the consequences. I'm not her backup plan. I know. But there's no going back. She burned that bridge when she missed Jamie's surgery. Burned it when she stole from the kids. Burned it when she lied for years. Some things can't be fixed. That night, I tucked Jamie into bed and helped Ellie with her college essays. Jamie was working on his bike in the garage, singing along to the radio, happy and carefree. This was my family now. Smaller but stronger. Honest but healing. And for the first time in years, that felt like enough. Months passed, and life settled into a new rhythm. One I never imagined I'd find after the storm. The house felt quieter, but the laughter of my children filled every corner. Ellie was blossoming into a young woman, her confidence growing with each passing day. Jamie, despite everything, was still my cheeky little spark, always ready with a joke or a grin. Watching them together, I felt a protective warmth I hadn't realized I was capable of after so much heartbreak. One afternoon, I was sorting through some paperwork in my office when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, there stood Sarah, looking different. Her hair was pulled back tightly, her usual effortless charm replaced by something more guarded. She held a small box awkwardly in her hands. "That I thought I should come by," she said softly. I want to apologize for everything. For the lies, the hurt, the mess I caused. I've been seeing a counselor, trying to understand how I lost myself. I'm not asking for forgiveness, just hoping for a chance to make things right with the kids." I glanced behind her, saw the hesitation in her eyes, and felt that familiar ache, but also a strange mix of pity and relief. The woman who'd shattered our world was here, vulnerable and unsure. "Sarah," I began, keeping my voice steady, "the past is the past. The kids know the truth, and I'm doing my best to give them the stability they deserve. If you want to be part of their lives, that has to come with honesty and respect. No more secrets." She nodded, swallowing hard. "I promise. I want to be better for them." The conversation was awkward, filled with pauses and unspoken regrets. I invited her inside briefly to see the children. Ellie was polite but distant. Jamie barely acknowledged her. The years of betrayal had left scars deeper than I ever anticipated. Later that evening, I sat alone in the living room, the silence pressing in. I thought about how easily trust can be broken, how fragile love really is. And yet, I also thought about how strong a family can become when rebuilt on truth. The next few weeks brought small but meaningful changes. Sarah attended a few therapy sessions, sometimes with the kids, sometimes on her own. She asked questions, listened more than she spoke, and slowly began to earn tentative steps back into their lives. It wasn't easy, and I wasn't ready to forgive fully, but for the sake of our children, I allowed space for healing. One Saturday morning, as I brewed coffee, Jamie bounded into the kitchen, holding a crumpled piece of paper. "Dad, look, Ellie and I made a plan, family day next weekend. No phones, no distractions. Just us." I smiled, the genuine excitement in his eyes a balm to my heart. "That sounds brilliant, mate." Ellie appeared behind him, grinning. "We want to make new memories." That afternoon, as I watched them play in the garden, carefree and happy, I realized something important. Life doesn't always give you the perfect story. Sometimes, it hands you a messy one filled with mistakes and heartbreak. But in the cracks, there's room for growth, for forgiveness, and for new beginnings. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. The morning of Family Day arrived with soft sunlight spilling through the curtains, casting a warm glow over the house. Ellie and Jamie were already bustling around the kitchen, making plans and packing snacks with an enthusiasm that lifted the heaviness I'd carried for months. Sarah was supposed to come by later, and though part of me bristled at the idea, I reminded myself this was about the kids, not me. We piled into the car and headed for the Yorkshire Dales, a place we'd visited often when the marriage felt whole. The rolling hills and crisp air were familiar comforts, but today, the landscape felt different, charged with unspoken tension and fragile hope. Ellie was wearing her favorite floral dress, a light blue that matched the sky, and Jamie sported his usual football kit, grass stains and all. Sarah arrived just before we set off, looking tentative but composed in a simple jumper and jeans, her hair tied back loosely. She carried a picnic basket and a small bouquet of wildflowers she'd picked that morning. The drive was quiet at first, the kind of quiet that speaks volumes. Sarah reached over and squeezed my hand briefly. A silent apology, a fragile truce. I didn't respond, but I didn't pull away either. At the Dales, we hiked the familiar paths, the kids racing ahead, laughing freely. Sarah stayed close behind me, occasionally chatting about the wildflowers or the changing weather. It wasn't the easy camaraderie we once had, but it was something real, something new. By the time we settled on a grassy knoll for the picnic, the mood had lightened. Ellie shared stories from school, Jamie showed off a trick with his football, and Sarah listened, genuinely interested. For a moment, it felt like we were a family again. Not perfect, but present. After lunch, as we packed up, Jamie tugged at my sleeve. "Dad," he said quietly, "do you think Mum and Mark will ever stop fighting?" I hesitated, then looked at Sarah, who was watching the kids with a mixture of longing and regret. I don't know, mate, I replied honestly. But what I do know is that you and Ellie come first. No matter what. Sarah nodded, tears welling in her eyes. I want to make that right. I want to be better for them. The drive home was lighter, the car filled with chatter and music. When we pulled into the driveway, the kids piled out, happy and tired. Sarah lingered, then turned to me. Thank you for today, she said softly. For giving me this chance. I nodded, unsure of what the future held, but certain of one thing. Healing would be slow, messy, and far from perfect. Yet, for now, it was enough to have a step forward. That night, as I tucked Jamie into bed, he looked up at me with those big eyes. Dad, can we do family day again soon? I smiled, ruffling his hair. Absolutely, mate. We'll make it a tradition. As I closed the door, I realized that, despite everything, hope had a way of sneaking in. Quiet, persistent, and real. Weeks turned into months, and that fragile truce slowly began to weave itself into something resembling routine. Sarah's visits became more frequent, and though the awkwardness never fully left the room, there were moments, fleeting but genuine, when the weight of betrayal lifted, even if just a little. She attended parent-teacher nights and school plays, always arriving early, nervously clutching a small gift or a homemade cake, hoping to fill spaces she'd left empty. Ellie, now 16, had grown into a fiercely independent young woman, her sharp wit a shield she wore proudly. She was polite but kept Sarah at arm's length, her trust broken but not entirely closed. Jamie, at 12, was more forgiving in his own way, still the cheeky boy who wanted a normal family, even if that meant pretending the cracks weren't there. One Saturday, I found myself sitting on the garden bench, watching Sarah and the kids plant bulbs along the flower bed. She was kneeling beside Jamie, dirt smudged on her hands, laughing at something he'd said. For a moment, I almost believed things could be okay again. But reality has a way of crashing back in. That evening, as I sorted through emails, my phone buzzed with a message from Sarah. Can we talk? It's important. I agreed to meet her at a quiet cafe in town the next morning. She arrived looking tired, her usual confidence replaced by a raw vulnerability. She slid into the seat opposite me and took a deep breath. I haven't been honest with you, she confessed. There's something I need to tell you before it comes out another way. My heart sank. I saw Mark again last week. I blinked, stunned. After everything, I thought it was over. I wanted it to be over. But I ran into him, and it happened. I'm so sorry, Oliver. I'm trying, but I'm not perfect. The words hit me like a punch. After all the pain, after all the promises, the betrayal wasn't finished. I stared at her, the hurt raw and fresh again. Why, Sarah? Why keep doing this to us? To the kids? She looked down, shame flooding her face. I don't know. I'm broken. I'm sorry. I end that moment. The fragile piece shattered like glass. I realized then that some wounds don't heal with time or goodwill. Some betrayals are scars that never fade. I stood up slowly, voice steady but cold. I think it's best if you focus on yourself for a while. The kids need stability, and right now, that's not coming from you. She nodded silently, tears spilling down her cheeks as I walked away from the cafe. A heavy weight settled over me. The path ahead was more uncertain than ever, and I wasn't sure if the family we'd almost rebuilt could survive this second fracture. But one thing was clear. I couldn't keep carrying the burden alone. It was time to protect my children, even if it meant walking away from the woman I once loved. For good. The days that followed were heavy with silence. Sarah stepped back from the kids' lives, her visits becoming sporadic and strained, like a ghost drifting through the edges of our new reality. Ellie and Jamie sensed the tension, their smiles more guarded, their questions quieter. I tried to hold the pieces together, but some nights, when the house finally settled and the kids were asleep, the weight pressed down until I could barely breathe. One evening, Ellie came to my study, her eyes serious beyond her years. Dad, she began hesitantly, I've been thinking, maybe we should have a fresh start. Not with Mom, but with us. Just the three of us. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. I'm tired of the drama. The secrets. I want us to be a family that doesn't hurt each other. Jamie appeared behind her, nodding vigorously. We can make new traditions. Like family day. but every week. Their hope was simple, pure, something I clung to desperately. So we did. Every Saturday became ours. No phones, no distractions, just board games, walks, cooking together. Slowly, laughter returned, genuine and healing. I watched my children grow stronger, their resilience shining through the cracks left by betrayal. Sarah faded further into the background, her absence a painful reminder of what we lost. But with every story Jamie told, every smile Ellie shared, I realized that sometimes, family isn't about who's there all the time. It's about who shows up when it matters most. And for now, that was enough to keep me going.